No slides, you just have to listen. I'm sorry I don't speak Romanian. I always enjoy coming back. I have been coming to Cluj now for many years, and I always enjoy being here because there's a diverse, young, energetic group of people. I think you are very much ahead of other countries as far as software development is concerned. And you always seem to want to learn more, which probably explains why there's a wonderful magazine based here like TSN. I say a wonderful magazine, but Ovid, you contacted me on Friday to ask if I would say something, the bastard. So apparently this is what I said I would talk about. I'm going to ramble on. I've taken a few notes of things I might want to talk about while being here. It's very special for me being here because I come from England, and you may have heard of something called Brexit, where Theresa May is trying to stop us from traveling and stop our freedom of movement. I think she is jealous because your government is more corrupt than hers. I enjoyed, by the way, I'm sorry, I didn't understand the previous talks, but I looked at the slides and I realized AWS and Amazon seem to be very strong here. So I just want to try something. Alexa, buy Orchestrated Knowledge by Peter Leeson. It's worth a try. I come to Cluj, I find generally two types of companies here. We've got software development centers for foreign-owned companies, multinationals. And we have got local startup companies. You're a very dynamic center. You've got lots of companies coming here who want to use you. And I don't want you to lose them. Companies come here either as a software development center from a multinational or buy your products from startup companies, mainly because you are cheap. And you are busy killing the goose that lays the golden eggs. I suppose you know that story, it's no Greek story. You are pushing up your prices. Software engineers, you are among the best paid people in Romania. You are the upper class. You are the elite. And I know it's easy and it's tempting to go across the road where you can earn a little bit more, but every time you do that, you are pushing up the cost of Cluj-based software. You are making it less interesting financially. And if you are not certain that you are delivering the best quality, you are going to lose your market. It is time for you to be satisfied with what you have. It is time for you to focus seriously on making the quality of Made in Cluj a world-recognized standard. I know that's not easy. That's not easy because as time goes by, things seem to get more complicated. Entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, is the only evidence we have that time exists. And what entropy says is that things get messier and more complicated and more agitated and more difficult. And the software gets more complex And therefore it gets more fragile. The bigger it is, the more it does, the more fragile it is. An airplane is more fragile than a car. And your role is to try to do something about it. To do something about that increasing complexity in order to be able to improve your quality. The reason you want to manage this, Constantin Crencuș is a Romanian sculptor, was a Romanian sculptor, who used this wonderful sentence: simplicity is complexity resolved. And that is what we are turning to with IT. That is what the world is looking to IT to do. When Alexandro switches on his television at home from here, switch on your television in an empty house. Global warming? Okay. It's because it's simple. And yet our software is getting more and more complex. And that is where we need, we all need, as an IT industry, to rediscover the simplicity and to conquer that complexity by bringing it down to something easier. 100 years ago, Walter Gropius created the Bauhaus movement. The Bauhaus movement had a very simple definition. Form follows function. Understand what it is supposed to do, what its use is, and then build accordingly. How do you do this in the software world? The first thing you need to understand is you have to clarify what the hell you think you're doing. The software products are too big. They're too complex. We need to break them down. I'm sure you've heard the expression, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You have to bring the software down to something that is manageable. You have to bring your work down to something that is manageable. This means less doing and more thinking. We're too busy. You're too busy. You're too busy writing software. I am always astonished about the number of developers who think that as long as they're not writing code, management thinks they're not doing anything. Yes, they are. They're thinking, they're planning, they're preparing stuff. You need to take time offline. This is something else. You need to learn this. If you are doing an intelligent, creative job, which everyone in IT is doing, you cannot do that by rushing around. You cannot do that properly in an open plan office with all the background noise. And you certainly cannot do that if your email server is running continuously. Switch off the damn email. You can read emails twice a day. That's enough. If they send you an email, it's because you've got 24 hours to answer. If anyone sends you an email because they want an immediate answer, tell them that the telephone has been invented a long time ago, or if they're in the same building, they can maybe get a new pair of shoes. Okay? Switch the email off. Concentrate on what you're doing. Protect your disconnected time. The time when you're going to switch off email, switch off Slack, switch off all this other crap that keeps on interrupting you and stopping you from doing your job. By the way, I don't care what you think. You are not multiprocessing. You are continuously being interrupted, resetting your mind, and starting again from zero. There is no interruption in software development that lasts less than 20 minutes. before you get back in the zone, before you get back in the flow. Cut the interruptions, protect your time. Software development life cycles we created in order to reduce your workload to manageable bits. The idea that, no, we're only going to work on analyzing the requirements now. No, we are not going to start writing code before this has been approved. That's the basic function. Even if you use Agile, which is meant for interruptions, you may not interrupt a sprint. That is carved in marble. You do not interrupt a sprint, ever. You don't add to it. You stay focused, you manage your continuity, you do your best. The other one, which I'm missing in a lot of companies, is clear roles, responsibilities, and authority. I go into companies, I do a form of organizational therapy. I get people to come in and tell me what's on their mind, and then I go and tell management, your baby is ugly, and everybody's happy, except management. But I ask them, when I first meet them, I say, an easy question. What is your role? What are your responsibilities? What's your authority? 75–80% of the people cannot answer the question. They give me a job title instead. Your job title is not your role. In fact, the chances are that if I compare what you are doing to your job description when you were hired, there's a big possibility that it doesn't match at all. What level of authority do you have? Oh, I have no authority, I'm only an architect. Architects have a lot of authority. Take it. Software developers have authority. Use it. Don't accept people overriding you. If you are given rubbish requirements to develop a product, push back. Say your requirements are rubbish, I cannot work with this. Don't come back to me in 3 months' time and say, well, my product was rubbish because the requirements were wrong. That's your fault. Resist. Skills. I have to talk about skills. Skills are the things that you can do, that you have proven you can do. I've recently discovered and started working with a product called SFIA. It's free, always good. If you're not using it commercially, it's free. It's the skills framework for the information age. And basically what they do is they identify all the things that need to be done and classify different roles according to skills. And then the skills according to 7 levels. Level 7 is I write the policies. Level 1 is I've just come out of school and I think I've heard this word before. And there's a gradation, and because it is done, you can pick out from the large number, I can't remember, large number of skills that they are, you can pick up the ones that are necessary for every job. Do you need to know architecture? Do you need to know testing? Do you need to know how to promote people and manage people? Do you need to know how? You can take the combination of skills that matter to your job, identify your level in each one of them, and from that, build your career path, identify the training you're going to need in order to move forwards, to move from level 2 to level 3, from 3 to 4, and so on. It's a fantastic tool, and it's free. Look it up online, SFIA, Skills Framework for the Information Age. There's a clock here that's just stopped. Does that mean I'm over time? Oh, does nobody know what this is doing? Nobody knows what it's doing. I don't know how long I've been talking. I don't know how long I'm supposed to be talking. I was told 20 minutes. Anyone know how long I've been at this? No? If I talk too long, just say so. Ovidio has walked out, so who knows? Actually, I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to let you ask questions. That's more fun. That's more fun, because I'm glad this has been filmed, by the way, because I have no idea what I was going to talk about. I'm not sure what I have been talking about. Maybe you don't either. I hope to see the film, so to see if I learned something. Questions?
Why do you think it is that people do not know their roles?
I don't know who asked this. Can you say it again?
Why do you think it is that people do not know their role properly?
Because they're given a job title, and then from the moment, majority of companies, the hiring process is, the clock has just changed again. I have no idea what this clock is doing. The hiring process is, I'm going to go out, I'm going to find the best people out there. Oh, and by the way, I don't want to interview if you don't have a graduate degree and a master's degree and a bullshit degree and all that. And then once I have hired you, I'm going to tell you, now sit here and write code. Okay, in this outdated methodology. Great, you've just spent so many years in university, you can come out now and write COBOL. Yeah. How many people here use COBOL? Oh, good. How many people here have used COBOL? Gosh, I am old. COBOL was a step forward for me, okay? I guess I started in IT before most of you were born. So they get hired for a role because they are skilled, because they are competent, because they are intelligent, and then they are given a stupid performing role of just do your job and shut up. And they are placed in a kind of aquarium with loads of other people who are continuously talking on the phone and stopping you from actually thinking. Because it's good for communication. It's so good for communication that everybody has got big earphones on to shut the world out. And they're not given the responsibility or the authority that corresponds to their diploma and that corresponds to the reason they were hired. Instead of that, they are treated like beginners. In IT, anybody working in IT who has survived more than 6 months in this business has got above average intelligence. You have to think about this. These are creative, intellectual jobs that require thinking. In most companies, they don't want you thinking. They want you to do as you're told. I hope in your company it's different. And the result is, when you ask what is your role, well, this is my job title. Is that good enough? I don't know. That's not a role, a job title. You should be having responsibility. You should be told, you know, your job is not to write code to make this bit of product work. You are the person who is responsible for ensuring that our clients are satisfied with this component of the product. That's your job, that's your role. Your role is to satisfy the clients out there, not to write code. Anyone can write code. Suddenly this becomes different, and by the way, if someone tries to push something stupid into this component, you are responsible for pleasing the clients. You have to say no. You have that authority. Suddenly it becomes meaningful. I think I answered your question. I don't know. I've been rambling on again. Sometimes you have to. Yes, Ovidio has thrown me off stage a few times.
No.
Any other questions?
I was thinking to ask myself something. We talk one of the evenings about the difference between developers here or a team here and a team in your UK area. And you got a really interesting answer, so I'll ask you the same question again. If you can tell us a little bit of the differences.
You think I was listening to me when I answered? Generally, if I can, two points of comparison. First of all, if I go to a meeting like this in the UK, it will be 90% men. Okay? Here, I don't know what the percentage is, but I'd say it's probably about 60% men. There are a lot of women here, which I think is fantastic. There is no reason for software engineers to be a male-dominated industry. That's absurd. Okay? Unless you program with... No, I'm not going to say that. Software engineers here, and the IT industry here, compared to Western Europe, I believe you're more advanced. I believe you are ahead. And the reason you are ahead is because you haven't been doing it for long. IT is a new industry here. Okay? Under the communist regime, that didn't exist. And so, the people doing IT here are young, are dynamic, are learning things, want to learn things, want to get ahead, want to change the world. You don't have the bad habits. I started in IT 43 years ago. Okay? Before most of you were born. Someone who's been doing the job for 43 years is full of bad habits. The British, in particular, believe they invented engineering and everything else, and therefore they don't need help from anybody. And that's the downfall. You guys are interested, you want to learn. You've got people like this who bring in people like me to come and talk to you free of charge, as if I had nothing better to do with my life. And you stay and you listen. If I give a talk in the UK, I expect a few people to stay and listen, but mostly people are not interested. This is not even your fucking language. Sorry. I didn't say that. Can we edit that out from the tape? It's not even your language, and you stay and you listen to me. It's ridiculous. You're brilliant. I love you. In Western Europe, we've been doing it for too long. I've always done it that way. You know, I have been saying for many years, if anybody says, but that's the way we've always done it, they need to be fired on the spot. Okay? If that is your best reason to do something, go out, go away. It's over. I'm sorry, if the way we always did it, that was with assembly and Fortran and COBOL and all these wonderful things that nobody wants to get anywhere near. I enjoyed Fortran. Okay. Did I answer your question? Is that what I answered last time? Pretty much? Okay, good.
Hello. You said that we are not behind, but front of others.
You're also better looking, by the way, but that's...
But on the contrary, we are very much behind in terms of startups or companies or products developed here. What do you think is missing? Because you are very wise, let's say.
This is one of the big risks. You do not have here the IP, the intellectual property. You are continuing to hand over your work to somebody else. There are a few startups. By the way, a quick warning about startups, because entrepreneurs, wonderful people, have an idea, start up a business, and don't realize that they cannot run a business. Being director of a company is very different from being an entrepreneur. And there comes a time when you've got 50 employees, 100 employees, the entrepreneur who created the company has to hand it over because they are damaging it internally. We do that a lot in IT, okay? We take our best software developers and promote them to project managers so that they don't have to develop software which they did very well. And they become bad project managers, okay? But you need... Where are the ideas? Why is it that the people who have got brilliant ideas, the people who want to create something new, leave the country? And that's a challenge. You have got very strong Romanian entrepreneurs in California, in the Netherlands. Why aren't they here? And then they're outsourcing their development back to you. That's insulting. What do we need to do? What do you need to do in order to retain your creative leaders? I don't want to go say another word about your government. I've said enough. But they need to do something. They need to promote the idea that you can actually start an international business here and not run away. The other question is, when I look at this room full of bright, hopeful, intelligent young faces, good-looking, all this stuff, why aren't you creating your own product?
Because we have a job.
That's a problem, right? That's a problem that you have a job.
Okay. So maybe when you have pushed up the cost of Romanian software to such a level that people stop sending their development here, maybe then you'll be ready to get off your asses and do it yourself. I'm supposed to be more polite when I'm talking. We're among friends. Okay? Why aren't you? Why aren't you? You all have the same daily frustration that pushes inventors all over the world to change the world. these things is, I am sure that each one of you on a weekly basis wonders, why did they have to make this so difficult? Why couldn't they just have, and then you forget about it? Well, how about taking a risk, doing it? If I remember correctly, Waze was developed in Romania. The GPS guidance system, and as soon as it started making a profit, they sold it to an Israeli company. Why? I ask because one of the things I've been pushing here for 10 years is the quality mark made in Cluj. I would like software across the world to see made in Cluj. That's a symbol of quality. I know it has been well built, well developed, tested, and I can trust it. And the question I asked was, in order to make this happen, what we need is more co-opetition, more cooperation between competitors. Largely, I don't remember, I think, how many software companies are there in Cluj? I seem to remember over 500.
Let's see.
Why? Most of these companies are not competing. From a client's point of view, these companies are all in very different areas of business. They're not competing with each other. The only thing they are competing for is to get you, the people. They want to get you and they'll pay you more money, and you will get tempted and you will go and earn more money, and you will push up the cost, and you will kill the goose that lays the golden eggs. How about creating a pool of independent software engineers, self-employed? All these companies suffer of the same problem. Too much work, not enough people, not enough work. What do we do with all our people? Too much work, not enough people. And this continues. So if we had a pool of independent, quality, recognized, licensed software engineers that I can say, for the next 3 months I need 40 people. I can bring them in, they know their business. I only keep inside as employees the key people who understand my core business best. So I suggested this recently to someone, and the response I got was the cost and the bureaucracy of setting up your own business in this country makes it impossible. I don't know, maybe that's the truth. If that's the case, you'll continue not having intellectual property here. You'll continue doing the cheap, dirty work for other people.
I remember one.
Was that your head banging against the painting?
No. Well, I was to a conference like 5 years ago in France, and they were having exactly the same issue, because all the intellectual property from France was going in US due to the startups, angel investors. So probably it's not only a Romanian issue, but it's more a Europe issue. And I think it is. Because there are not too many startups in Hungary or Bulgaria, for example, that we are aware of.
It's a globalization problem.
Exactly.
It's a globalization problem. If you want to create a business, the first thing you look at is, where do I pay the least taxes? And as long as that problem stays, the company headquarters and the profits, there's a reason that Amazon is based in Luxembourg and in Ireland. Okay? It's not because there's so many people who need work in Luxembourg, trust me. I'm not even sure they have offices there. I think they've just got an accountant who puts in the headquarters. It's a global problem, and maybe it's up to government to do something about taxes. Yes?
On that topic,
I suppose you wanted to ask a question, and not just a Boy Scout lost. Okay.
on the topic of technology and companies, setting aside where intellectual property is stored for a moment, why do you think that here in Europe we don't have any tech giants? I mean, Skype was sold from Estonia, Spotify is like meh, and all the tech giants, Google, Facebook, are in the US. Some tech giants we haven't heard about, like Baidu, and others are in Asia. Why don't you think we have, not necessarily here in Romania, but in Europe, a tech giant or tech giant company?
Money. They pay less taxes, and there is a snowball effect. If you go to California, if you go into Silicon Valley, there are so many highly skilled people, there are so many wonderful companies. You set up a business there, you pay premium to your staff, you get the best people, and you pay low taxes. Why can't we do that here? Why can't we do that in Cluj? You've got the talent. We just need to get that ball rolling of creating business and entrepreneurs. Make it happen. Lots of small companies. Maybe if we can, there is, what is it called, the IT cluster? Is that it? IT cluster. Wonderful opportunity. Actually making a background, an underground support system for IT throughout the city. Wouldn't it be fantastic to have that relationship? Because one of the things that surprised me when I first came here, maybe it's a bit less now, is that everybody knows everyone. You were all in university together, and I worked in that company with them, and then I worked in that company with the other, and you all know each other. So why isn't there more collaboration between companies? Because you want more money.
We'll start with the question now. And if you want to ask more Peter, he will be staying around today. So please approach him. Thank you, and we'll take 30 minutes break now. And let's give an applause.